We believed there was lizards in a mountain, that they were gonna like come and the world was gonna end a few times. It wasn't until later on that I kind of realized like, oh dang, like I was on a cult. Japanese teacher kind of told me, Japanese people are probably gonna be like interested in you because you're, foreign exchange student, kind of new, but she told me that they'd probably be shy. And so the friend making aspect was easier. The schooling aspect, I mean, when I found out it was 4 months, I was kind of relieved, but by the end of the 4 months, I wished so hard that it was a year.
Hi, and thank you for tuning in. If you're listening to this, you're probably on episode 200 something. That's over 3 years of us producing the show. And seriously, we love it. It means a lot to us. As you can imagine, it's not easy to do. So for this episode, we've partnered with Zen Market. Zen Market is not just any sponsor. They're actually our colleagues from the office next door. Zen Market gets you access to Japanese e-commerce, niche goods, second-hand deals, things that just don't ship internationally. More details are in the link in the description. So if you want to support the show and help us bring you more stories from Japan, go check it out. And for now, let's get into today's story. Welcome to Unpacking Japan. I'm Toby, and today I have the pleasure to welcome Genoa. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. It's really nice to meet you.
You've been kind of going viral quite a bit on social media recently.
Yeah, well, I mean...
in the last few months. And this kind of is in the process of shaping your trajectory here of life in Japan. I think you're still finding ground in this country that is relatively new to you. But actually, you've got a little bit of history with it. You were telling me before we started that you actually came during high school.
Yes.
So we'll get into that. But one thing we were just talking about, which was very fascinating to me, was the origin of your name.
Yes.
Genoa is a very uncommon name. Where does it come from?
So I was born into a cult. That's what I regard it as. But so I was born into this cult. It's in this like rural area of my hometown. And everyone in that cult is kind of named by the cult leader. There were some very interesting names. I kind of got lucky because I got Genoa, which I like. I think it's a cool name. My brother's name is Pyrenees, and I think that's a cool name. But there were some other people in the cult. Like there's this one person named Tourette's, which I think was unfortunate. And there was some other people who just the cult was a very interesting place because it kind of the whole point was try to evolve and become like a greater person, and by doing that we would like put on blindfolds and try and do meditating stuff, try to see behind cards and things like that. And then I also went to this elementary school that was funded. I can't remember who was funded or made by, but all the staff were people of that cult. And we also everything that we did in that school was all kind of cult related. So every Friday we'd go out and we'd put on blindfolds and then we'd shoot bows and arrows and try to like hit target, which for like a 5-year-old is probably not a very safe thing to do, but I did it, and so did everyone else. So yeah, we do that stuff, and we've left the cult. I've been in since like I was 7 years old, and then my family kind of made us realization like, oh, this is maybe not a great idea, and there's a lot of inconsistencies with a lot of stuff. So we left that cult, but I kept my name from it. And my parents even told me like, hey, if you want to change your name, like you can, because the history background of it. I'm like, no, I like Genoa. The only downside is I got no Italian in my blood, so
no connection to Italy, but named after an
exactly.
Italian
Yeah.
city.
So and I get asked like, oh, are you Italian? Your name's from Italy, and I either have to lie and be like, yep, or be like, long story about being raised in a cult.
You were very young when you were in that cult,
yeah.
And also when you left, but was it strange or difficult for you to adapt from moving away from this into, let's say, a normal school system?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I went straight from this, I call it cult school. I went straight from cult school to an elementary school, a public elementary school. And my parents told my homeroom teacher the situation. And I actually didn't get homework that year because I was so behind on academics, because the cult kind of taught us other things besides math. I mean, they did a little bit, but that was not near the level I was supposed to be for my age. So yeah, it was tough. We didn't have homework in that cult, so I had to do more work for the first time, schoolwork. Making friends was tougher because at that age, I completely. At the time, I was really sad because all my friends, all my connections were in this like culty kind of school, and for reasons I didn't really know at the time, we just kind of left. So I just went to an entirely different place. And I had to make new friends, kind of adapt to this new like public school, which was a lot different than the cult school. So
was there a stigma associated with it when you kind of introduced yourself and you said, oh, before I was part of that cult or part of that school, and then people were like, oh.
That's a great question. I don't think I told anyone when I first showed up, but it was only until later, maybe a couple years later, that I truly realized like what the cult was, because my parents, would tell me more about like what was going on in the cult was actually like weird in a cult. We didn't do anything illegal, like there's nothing like we just kind of blindfolded stuff, and we believed there was lizards in a mountain, and that they were gonna like come and the world was gonna end a few times, and every time the world didn't end, because the cult leader would be like, oh, in 2012 the world's gonna end, or in 2015. Every time the world didn't end, the cult leader would be like, you guys did it. It was because of you. You guys changed the future. So yeah, it was just a lot of stuff like that where it was just kind of, and the blindfolded archery, weird stuff. But it wasn't until later on that I kind of realized like, oh dang, like I was on a cult. And then I started telling people, because then it was cool. I was like, yeah, I was raised in a cult, and everyone was like, what? So it kind of helped that everyone already knew who I was, that it wasn't just like a cult guy's coming. It's like, oh, Genoa actually turns out he used to be in a cult, which was kind of cool.
So what you just said was interesting about as a child, it was just like moving from, let's say, a state to another. You lose your friends, you have to make new friends. That's difficult. And you don't really understand or realize what's it like growing up in a cult.
Yeah.
But a few years later, your parents explain to you more and more, and you start realizing. How do you kind of look back at that? Was it something that for you was a cool thing, just part of you, or something difficult to accept?
Oh, man, I don't think it was that hard for me. I mean, my parents divorced at around that time too, so there was a lot of like, I was really, there was a lot of emotion about my parents' divorce at that time. So that was probably at that age more the focus of my mind. And during that, I mean, yeah, she would tell me, my mom would tell me about the cult, and I think it was more of like a realization of like, oh wow, like dodged a bullet, like, because she would tell me more stuff like about, because my mom worked for the school, and the school staff was all part of the cult. When she wanted to leave and try to make the school more academic focused and less cult focused, the entire board kind of turned on my mom and like sent her some really like harsh, weird emails, and there was a lot of that stuff that my mom would tell me, and it was kind of more like just kind of a whoa, I can't believe that we were in that. But at the time, I just thought it was normal. I show up, all the kids would have like pine cone fights outside where we'd throw pine cones at each other, and it was just kind of like a place to hang out. And then, but when I think back about it, I don't actually remember a lot about that time. Just like little bits, and then like the schooling part with like the blindfold archery and the cards and stuff. Because there was a lot of stuff that my mom would tell me that I did, and I'm like, what? We did that? Like I don't remember that at all. So now, as I've lived more of my life outside of the cult than I was in the cult, I just don't. I think of it more of like a wow, that was a crazy experience, but I don't really have any like sort of shame or negative feelings about it, other than the fact that it was weird.
Your parents made the decision to leave for you and your brother, I imagine, as well.
Yeah.
Some cults, I understand, it's very difficult to kind of break free from. And in this situation, it seemed like at least it was possible.
Yeah.
Since it was your parents' decision and they kind of took you and your brother with you, I'm curious, does the cult, and maybe later around now, perhaps try to reach back out to you, since your name was given by the cult leader, and be like, hey, now you're an adult, you can make your own decision. Do you want to come back?
That's a great question. I haven't been reached out by them, but I do know that because it's in our little like rural town that the cult's prevalent. So I mean, there's still people like we'll run into them at the supermarket, and it's not. I know there's some cults that they either like get you financially or they like have some rule where you have to break ties with your family. Fortunately, the cult wasn't like that. It's not like as far as cults go, I think it's not as bad as some other ones. Because they didn't try to financially trap my parents, as far as I'm concerned, or they haven't reached out to me. They were kind of they didn't want anyone to go, but they can't force us to stay. So as far as that goes, yeah, it worked out fine. I mean, my mom did get those kind of like harsh emails and stuff, but that wasn't from like the leader. Those were just from the people who were already.
Just kind of peer pressure. In a way.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of explains a little bit where your name comes from. And that also brings us to more or less the time when you're in high school and you at some point decide to go to Japan.
Yes.
So what actually brought you here? What made you want to move away from not only the cult and that area you're from, but move all the way to Japan?
Yeah. So it started out with me when I was a lot younger. Me and my brother, we would watch, we'd watch anime. We'd watch this. There's this movie, The Last Samurai, with Tom Cruise, which historical inaccuracies aside, I thought it was pretty awesome as a kid. Me and my brother would watch it all the time. And it painted Japan in this really cool light. So ever since I was a kid, even while we were still in the cult, I'd watch that stuff. And I just kind of had this cool vision of Japan, of like this really cool, beautiful place. And so my brother actually took our high school, the public high school that I went to, was lucky enough to have a Japanese program with a Japanese teacher who would teach culture and language and stuff. And so my brother actually, because he's 2 years older than me, he went into that first. And he said it was great. He really loved it. So kind of because of my brother, I was like, okay, I'll take that class. It looks interesting. So I entered that class. I had a great time. My teacher, Miss Katzer, was fantastic. She's great. And because of that class, I kind of was like, man, like it seemed more possible for me to like study abroad. So I kind of talked to her about it. I looked online and I found AFS, the Cultural Exchange Program. I reached out to them. And I just took half of my senior year of high school, my last year, and I studied abroad in Okinawa. And it was only, and it was that, because Okinawa is so fun. It's really cool. But
that kind of program, is this very common in the States? Is it something that you said you had to seek out the program and you found something? So I imagine the school doesn't necessarily organize everything. You have to have the desire to go.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure there's some schools that have, built-in programs for that stuff. My school doesn't have like a built-in foreign exchange program. You can so I had to, I just researched online, like American-based programs to study abroad, and I found AFS. I actually applied to go to Japan a year before, when I was in high school, but that, it was a lot of money and it was a lot of fundraising. It just didn't work out. But then and that was also through AFS, but because my name and my application was already in the system, my AFS kind of counselor emailed me and was like, hey, there's this scholarship opportunity that would be free. If you already have your application, you just want me to send it in for you. And I was like, sure. And sure enough, I had to, I had to write some essays and fill out some stuff to do the scholarship, but I did end up actually getting the scholarship, and so it was just only for 4 months. But I did get the free study abroad trip to Okinawa, which was awesome.
So that was your very first trip to Japan.
Yes,
and you went straight to the Thousand Islands, with the beaches and the sun, away from the big cities.
Yep.
What was it like for you to kind of arrive there? You said that you. First impressions of Japan came a little bit from The Last Samurai, which plays more like in the Japanese Alps and mountains and this historical part. But now suddenly you're like in the Hawaii of Japan, so to say.
Well, when I first found out, I just got an email of like, because they pick for you where you go, and I just got my email and they're like, you're gonna be in Okinawa, and I was like, Okinawa, where is it? What's that? So I looked it up, and it was this really southern island. I could be wrong, but I think it's closer to Taiwan than it is to.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cultural influences from other cultures as well in Okinawa, and I was a part of me was kind of like, oh, like I wanted to go to the mainland, but regardless, it's still Japan. I'm gonna learn Japanese, and so I went, and I ended up having like a great time, and I'm really glad that I went to Okinawa.
Did you go to Naha?
No, I was in Okinawa City, but I did go to Naha twice, I think. And that place was really cool. I actually, as far as things go, I was in a really rural part of Okinawa, which, because my host family told me like, yeah, like we're kind of a rural place. And when I showed up, I'm like, this is not, I mean, compared to the rural that I knew in Washington State, I mean, in Washington State, my closest neighbor is like a 5-minute drive through the forest. Like I'm truly like in the middle in the forest. So I was like, no, this is great. Like we got houses all next to each other. Like there's, the bus is only like a 15-minute walk. Like it's fine. So I ended up having a really good time. And it it was just a really, I'm really glad the people in Okinawa too are really friendly and really accommodating. And I did have one thing that I was nervous about going in, and that's I think, I don't know exactly what it is, but I know most of the United States military bases are located in Okinawa. So, and I know that there's like protests to like get those military bases out, because I mean, I've experienced this on my way to school. The bus is like an hour, it's like an hour bus ride.
Oh, every morning for you too, when you from your host family to the school.
Right.
Okay.
But that's because there's a big American military base blocking the way. So we have to go all the way around. So I get it, I get it. Like for Okinawan people, the lifestyle can be, disrupted by the US bases. So, and there's protests to kind of like get rid of a lot of them. So I was nervous going in. I'm like, oh God, are they going to be like mean to me because I'm American, So I was kind of nervous about that. But I mean, I got any type of any sort of like prejudice against me. I mean, everyone was sweet. I got like one kind of mean look from a really old guy one time, and that was it, So I felt really lucky and glad to have really nice and accommodating people all around me.
What was your homestay experience?
I actually had two host families, because the host family that I was going to go to had hosted someone a couple months before, and they kind of wanted a break. So they found another host family for me. So I would stay with them for the first half for 2 months, and then I'd go to my original host family for the last two. And they were both really sweet. The first host family I had was the one that was in the more rural area. Excuse me. And I had two host brothers and a host sister, and they were both younger than me, and they're all younger than me, and they were adorable. They were really wanting to like learn English from me, and they were talking to me a bunch. And the thing is I think I learned a lot more Japanese with my second host family, because my first host family, the mom could speak fluent English because she worked on a US base. So I like subconsciously, instead of trying to like truly try my best in Japanese, I'd say it in English, because she, it was easy and I could just ask her real quick instead of like not knowing what to say. My second host family did not speak English as well. So I really like had no option but to speak in Japanese. So I definitely think it improved a lot more not having an English speaker around.
What's a kind of daily life like for the families there in Okinawa? I imagine it's quite different than here, for them, downtown Osaka, where people live in large apartments or kind of smaller houses. But when you're out there in the islands, did you feel a kind of different atmosphere? I
think, I mean, first of all, there's really no train in Okinawa. In Naha, there's like a monorail. But where I was at, I mean, there's only a bus, and then also pretty much everyone has a car. Everyone has a car and uses their car a lot. So I would just I'd get a lot of rides it was really normal for me when I'm hanging out with my friends to have their parents drive us around and go to like the hangout spot, like Chatan, which there's actually this place in Mihama called American Village, which is like an American styled town. Like there's like a motto where every day is Christmas, which I thought was funny. And there's it was funny that ended up being the place where everyone wanted to hang out, because that's just kind of where a lot of the fun stuff is happening. That's right next to the beach. So we'd get my friends' parents to drive us there, or we'd just take the bus. And when it comes to more like the host family life, it was a lot. My first host family was so different than my life in America, because in America, I'd have school, but I'd kind of go to bed late. I didn't have other than my parents being like, do your homework and stuff. I didn't really have that much of like a structure. It was kind of more free, But my first host family, they went to bed at 8:00 every night. And
8:00.
8:00. Everyone. And also, because I was with them through New Year's Eve. So on New Year's, they went to bed at like 10. And they did like an early celebration, and all my friends were out. And the part of me was kind of like, oh man, like I wanted to go out. But I mean, it's not, I actually really appreciated the structure, because it really like helped me gain more motivation and like going to bed early and waking up early I kind of find myself always following the kind of late schedule. But during that time, I mean, I was never tired. I was studying a lot. Like I kind of like want to go back to that really, because it was really great. And every Saturday I'm sure this is actually probably more normal, but every Saturday we'd clean the house. We'd like take the futons out and sun dry them, and so the house was really clean. We'd hang our laundry like outside on a clothesline. We had a washing machine, but we didn't have a drying machine, so we'd do that. My host family would take me they took me like far north to this like they call that power spot, where it's kind of like a spiritual place, and that was really cool. So they'd take me around Okinawa more, and I really enjoyed that time.
They took you to power spots, so something spiritual. I'm curious, did they also ask about your background? Did you tell them that you kind of also grew up in this cult and you had that experience?
I know I told them. I can't remember what they said. I think they were kind of nervous, like they didn't want to offend me, but I was literally like, no, like it was a cult, like ask me anything you want. And they did. I did tell them about my past, and they were really interested in like, what that's like an American cult. And I told them like it wasn't as hardcore as some of these like more famous cults that are really bad. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting icebreaker that I can bring up
I can imagine.
Yeah.
The reason you actually went to Okinawa was school. We haven't talked about that yet.
Right.
You had only studied Japanese a little bit, and suddenly you were in a public Japanese school.
Yeah.
How did you adapt? Was it easy for you to kind of make friends and follow along with the classes, or was it kind of like a very rough experience?
It was easy. It was easy to make friends. I knew going in. My Japanese teacher kind of told me in America. My Japanese teacher at high school, she was like, Japanese people are probably going to be like interested in you because you're foreign exchange student. You're kind of new. But she told me that they'd probably be shy and like won't come to me first. So one thing I learned is like to like, even if someone looks like, there was this one person in my class who just looked scary. Like I thought they hated me because they were just like, eyes straight. And then I kind of built up the courage, and I talked to them one day. I'm like, hey, like, how you doing? I'm Genoa. And they're like, oh my God, hey, like, it's nice to meet you, and they're super nice. And I was like, oh, and we became friends. And so the friend making aspect was easier for me, knowing that to just kind of like be courageous and make first moves to talking to people. The schooling aspect, I mean, even after Okinawa studying abroad, I was probably still like toddler level of speaking. I studied. It was helpful that I studied hiragana and katakana in high school, because that kind of gave me a basis for pronunciation and how the sentences kind of form and words form. So having that foundation was really helpful. And so I did pick up things faster than maybe there was other people on my exchange program who had no knowledge of Japanese at all. They were just going in blind.
How does this work? What is the expectation from the school then, and also from those students when you kind of go to a foreign country on an exchange without having any knowledge of the language? And basically, if you go in blind for 4 months, you know that you're not going to be able to follow anything. So that means you're not necessarily going to learn additional material that you may need for your grades. And what is a kind of a...
So for what it's worth, I did not get any sort of credit for being in Japan. I had to take extra classes
you take like a gap, so to say. Kind of gap semester to do that experience.
Exactly. I took before I left for Japan. And then when I came back, I took like online courses and stuff that I could present to my high school to show them that I've learned, things. So yeah, I didn't get credit for being over there. And the whole point of the scholarship, the exchange program, was just to build connections between countries and to be what they call a global ambassador, which is just to, bridge gaps and make connections and form bonds between countries, which, so it wasn't like a study focused, like math, science, English.
So more focused on breaking the ice and making friends.
More of like a cultural, like, I think they wanted you to learn the language more than any sort of school subject. So yeah, I didn't during classes. I mean, I think the best class that I had was English. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of obvious. But other than that was math, just because math is kind of its own language. Yeah, so and even then, their math was way ahead of what I was doing. So it was still really hard, But
I imagine you still have to follow along and take the test too. So if there's a Japanese history test in Japanese, and you're sitting in front of your sheet, and you've got all the kanji in front of you.
It was. I had nothing, and they weren't expecting me to really do anything. I kind of got like the exchange student pass on a lot of things because I didn't. They gave me like a test. They didn't expect me to do it. So they just, anything that I would write down, they would be like, you did a great job, So, and then during like the big like college tests or like I'm not sure forgot what they call it.
College entrance.
Yeah, stuff like that. They just told me to go to the library. So I just went to the library and self-studied. That's actually what I did in a lot of classes is if the teacher would tell me like, you don't have to do and she would gave me this little piece of paper, and a lot of my teachers were really nice and gave me like words to practice. So I actually studied Japanese in a lot of other classes that were meant for, teaching other subjects.
What was your observation of the education system and the way the teachers and students interacted compared to your experience in the American high schools?
It's really interesting because first of all, in America, the way high school works is you have your 6 period classes. So first period is science, second period is math, whatever. And then that goes, and it stays the same way the entire year, unless you change it. So, but every single day is the same schedule. I don't know if I'm sure this is mostly universal in Japan, but I'm not 100% sure. It could be different. But every single week or every day you had like a different block of classes that you'd take. So like maybe Monday you'd start with, English and then do two periods of math and then go science and then home economics. And then the next day it would be a different lineup of classes. Maybe home economics is first, and then you do a different, so you have more than 6 classes. You just take different, throughout the week, you have different like schedules for those classes, which I thought was really interesting. And I liked it because it made every day feel fresh.
So if I understand it correctly, in the States, you'd have, let's say, math from 9 to 10 and English from 10 to 11 every single day?
Every single day.
Oh, wow.
There's some programs you can also, if you fulfilled all your credits, you can change it, but you have to talk to your counselor to do that. If you don't do anything and just leave it, it's the entire year is
really.
So
wow.
is that then in?
So the French system is then very similar to the way you described the Japanese system, where we have a schedule that stays the same for the entire year, but every day of the week is different. Every Monday will be the same, every Tuesday will be the same, but every day of the week will be different.
Oh, interesting. I like that system a lot better because school can get boring really quickly if you do the same thing every day. The other thing is unless it's PE or like you have to go to a lab for science, the teachers will come to the classes and the students will stay in the class, which I thought that was cool, because if you already have all your stuff, instead of taking all your stuff and moving to a different classroom, because in America, every teacher has their own classroom and you go, every time the period changes, you take all your stuff and you go to that teacher. I just really liked how different it all was. It made everything feel fresh, and I was excited to go to school, which, depending on the day, I'd be excited to go to school in America, but it wasn't often. But I showed up every day. I think I got sick once and I was absent for 2 days, and that's the only time I missed school because I just loved it so much.
Is there a lot of interaction between the students and the teacher, or is it more this kind of a traditional image one might have of the teacher just lecturing and the students listening?
It depends on because in our homeroom class, the teachers are a lot more involved in the students' lives than I would think in America. They almost take kind of like a counselor role, the homeroom teacher, because they'll give you advice on college, they'll give you advice on a bunch of different things, and then because of that, the students and their homeroom teachers, I think, became really close. Like my friends texted me a few months ago that they just went over to their homeroom teacher's house just to have lunch.
Wow.
Which was, because my image of Japan before coming was that, like things were a lot more strict and people, like teachers and students were very separate, but maybe this is just Okinawa or maybe the school I was at, I'm not sure, but the school where I was at, the homeroom teachers and the students got along really well. There were some other classes, like there was one teacher that had kind of a reputation for being scary, and she was very strict, and
there's always that one teacher.
There's always, yeah, exactly. So and so there's always, and then there's another one was like a PE teacher. So there are teachers in that school who have, that more strict mindset, but all the teachers that I had, no, I did have the scary teacher for one class. And I was always like, it was Spanish actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was learning Spanish in Japanese, but being taught in Japanese, which was fun. And so I didn't learn much Spanish in that class, but she was very, strict. And so I made sure to be on my best behavior for that class. All classes I was on my best behavior, but
That experience of yours was 4 months, but it seems to have been like quite intense from the 2 home stays plus the school experience and all this kind of in such a short period of time. What were you thinking about or feeling like when you were back at the airport on your way home?
It was so, because at first I was, when I found out it was 4 months, I was kind of relieved. I was like, okay, 4 months isn't that long. For whatever reason, if I don't like it, then it's only 4 months, I can go home. But by the end of the 4 months, I wished so hard that it was a year, because I did a lot. I did a lot in that 4 months, but I also, wish I could have done more. I just wished I lived there for longer because of how great of an experience it is. I still keep in contact with a lot of my friends from Okinawa. I was actually just texting one today because I plan on going back to Okinawa sometime soon, and he said he'd let me stay at his house. So
awesome.
Pretty excited about that.
But then you're back in the States, you're back to your regular high school life that suddenly might feel a little boring.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I got back to America, for some reason, most other than like my close friends, everyone at my school thought that I was gone for good, because it was my senior year. So I came back and everyone's like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing here? And so it was really tough because it was so opposite of everything. My life like completely changed for what I thought was the better. I had a really great time, and then I had to go back, and that was really tough. And I also had a crush on a girl in high school, which we can get back to later, but she's my girlfriend right now. Because we didn't start dating during that foreign exchange trip. I went back to the States, and then I ended up going back to Okinawa again for like a study, not a study abroad, for their graduation. I showed up to surprise them for their graduation. And then, so we met up during that time, which was last year. So.
And that suddenly makes you question a little bit. What do you do with your future? You graduate high school.
Right. I know. I didn't have a plan, but I don't really know what I want to do with my future. But I did apply to a college in America, and I did. It was just like an in-state, college. I didn't really have like a big passion for it, but it was just like, this is just what I was going to do because I didn't know what I was going to do. But I start this relationship with my girlfriend, and then she's like, she's living in Kyoto right now, and she was like, you can come stay with me. I'm going to go to college, and I'm like, man. So I end up stopping my application to that college, and I applied to a college in Kyoto during that time. But this was kind of my fault, but I only applied to one college, which they rejected me from, and I found this out like 5 months ago. So from that point onwards, I was like, oh man, like I gotta figure out a way to stay. Cause what I've been doing has just been, we've been doing long distance. So I'll just come here for a couple months on a tourist visa. Then I go back to the States, we do long distance, then I come back. So I've been looking for a more permanent residence here. And right now that's through a student visa that I'm applying for a language school. And that'll start if I get all my paperwork done and everything goes well, it'll start in October.
So this year, October, you might move to Japan on a more permanent basis.
Yes, which would be great.
Starting some more long-term projects. But in the midst of all of this, at some point, you started creating content. That's kind of how we found you too.
Right.
Under the name Genoa Orion.
Yeah, my Orion is my middle name. So Genoa was taken. So I just put my middle name, and just so it became Genoa Orion.
You were making videos on social media, I would qualify them like for fun.
Yeah.
And they looked interesting. And then at some point, the topic of Japan kind of came in, and you started making comedy about this. Tell me a little bit about like, what was your thinking? How did you kind of get into this to the point that now you have like, I think over 500,000 followers, and this is kind of becoming a sort of more semi-full-time, I think, endeavor.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, so I started social media before I even studied abroad in Okinawa. in like 2022. It was just me and my buddy. He had a social media account. He had a TikTok, and he just was posting for fun. And because I became friends with him, I started posting, and it became fun. And I think I had like one video that did really well, and that kind of made me go like, oh, like maybe I can like become like a famous TikTok person. And I thought I just kind of had fun with that idea, so I just kept posting. And you know, my videos, in my opinion, they weren't that good. You know, I was just posting with like trends that were going on. I didn't really have like an identity. But I just did that consistently for like a couple of years until 2023 to 2024. And I don't know how, but I was able to gain around 100,000 followers on TikTok just by doing this. It would be like, I'd post a bunch of videos, and then they'd all, you know, perform, you know, so, and then I'd have one video that maybe did well. And then that just kind of did that. I didn't have any sort of consistent niche or style. And then I'm sure depending on how far you scroll on my profile, you'll see that I also did cosplay at some point for,
the videos are out there.
Yeah, they are. And they're going to be out there for the rest of my life. And, it started because I played, Resident Evil, and I really liked that game. And so I decided I would dress up as, so I got a comment on one of my videos. I was like, you kind of look like Leon Kennedy, which I don't know what they were saying, but I kind of was like, oh, sweet, maybe I'll dress up as Leon Kennedy for Halloween. So I did that, and I posted some videos, and they did really well. And I was like, oh man, like maybe I could do cosplay. Cause, at the time, and I still don't fully discredit that. I still do think like cosplay can be fun. Cause, you know, I like to play video games, watch TV, and dressing up as those characters seems like fun time. I also saw, this is kind of sidetrack, but I saw that you interview some cosplayers on this podcast, which was really interesting. And so yeah, I thought that I might do that, and then the one that I actually got, this kind of blew me up to more of like the 150, 200,000 followers was cosplaying Cat Noir, which is this just black jumpsuit. It's this character from this I want to say kids show, but people might get mad at me if I say kids show. But it's
you said it. Nice.
Yeah, I did say it. It's more like directed towards kids. It's called like Ladybug and Cat Noir. And I did not watch. As far as cosplayer goes, I was a fraud because I had never watched the show before. But I just had people tell me I looked like the character. So I was like, okay, sweet. I dressed up as this guy, and it totally blew up. And I was kind of like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like, this is the first time I felt like oh my god, like this could go somewhere. So I just kept doing cosplay. But the more I did it, I mean, I kind of realized that I just didn't have, like, making videos felt more of like a chore than like having fun. Because I was posting, I was just cosplaying characters, and I didn't really like the characters that were maybe popular at the time that I'd cosplay. I wouldn't know anything about them, so it was just kind of like felt more like a task. So I wanted to stop doing cosplay after like a few months of doing it, just because it was more like me just jumping on an opportunity than me actually wanting to do something that I thought was fun, and something that I've always been a fan of, fond of since I was a kid, is just being funny. I try to be funny the best I can. Like for school projects, if there was an option to make a video, I'd always like make a video and try to make like a funny video of whatever subject I was studying. So I kind of stopped doing the cosplay, and I started doing more comedy-based videos in the US. And there was a couple of them that did well, and it kind of gave me hope, like, oh, maybe if I can still go somewhere with this comedy stuff, even though it's not cosplay, which is what really kind of blew me up at that time. And during all of this is when, I went to Japan for study abroad, and then also I went back for their graduation, and then I started dating my girlfriend, and so I went to Japan. And so I was in Japan. I'm like, man, like what videos do I make while I'm here? And I just kind of tried to think of stuff that I personally experienced. Like one of my first video that blew up, I would, in my definition of blowing up, it didn't go like viral, but it did well for my platform. Was me just making a video about how, like it was just a comedy video about gaijins, and you see, like if two foreigners see each other, they're kind of like, kind kind of like side eye each other, even though there's no real reason to do that. But it was just like something in my experience that I thought was funny. And I posted that and it did really well. And I was like, oh, like there's an audience for this. So I just kind of continued to post that. And it's kind of a weird thing because I do Japan comedy videos, but I also do videos for English for Americans, like kind of more directed. I have videos directed for Americans and videos directed for Japanese people. So it's kind of like, I know, how do I juggle these two things? Because when I'd go back to the States, it's more like, I mean, I feel like now I got to post American stuff. So it was kind of this weird back and forth. And right now I still haven't fully, figured out or cracked any sort of code. I just kind of try to, if I make a video that's directed towards English people, I put Japanese subtitles on the video, and then vice versa. If I do Japanese video, I have English subtitles on the video. So
I noticed you've got a lot of engagement in Japanese commenters that are kind of like reaching out and engaging with this, that are based in Japan and don't speak English. I'm assuming don't speak English.
Yeah, sure. That was really fun, actually. I'm really glad that I was able to, because at first I thought my reach in Japan was more to, foreigners in Japan who like relate to experience of other foreigners. But I made a video that about in Starbucks about like messing up in Japanese, and they switched to English, and that did really well because it was relatable for foreigners, because if they're trying to speak Japanese and they mess up, it's kind of it's embarrassing. And then I guess it was also relatable for Japanese people on the receiving end of seeing that from an inside perspective. And yeah, it was really cool to see how I can make videos that both Japanese people find funny and English people find funny.
I would say you're from a generation where social media was kind of there already, so to say, when you kind of got into the age of maybe getting a smartphone and such. Whereas for me, it kind of arrived at some point later.
Okay.
And so I'm curious for you, how do you see social media? Is it something that nowadays it's like a must-have? It's like, oh, this is a serious career path. Everyone needs to have a platform. Everyone needs to build something. Or is it kind of what you were describing at the very beginning? You just started this for fun with a friend. What is the approach? Is it immediately something like, oh, this is a potential career path. Let's take this seriously. Let's make videos. Let's watch the numbers. Let's kind of...
It's tough because I do think that, social media it's taken over as far as business goes. I think if you have a business, it's a good idea to have a social media just because of how much reach you can get with it. And for me, it's kind of hard. If there's other content creators watching this, it's kind of hard to make videos and then not care about the numbers. Because at first, it was all about just having fun. But then the more videos did well, the more I did start to care about the numbers. And if a video didn't do well, I'd be like, I'd get down. And if it did do well, I'd get excited. And my mood of that day would kind of be dictated by how many views I got, which turned really toxic. And I actually stopped doing social media for a few months because of it. So one thing I try my best to remember is to just try to keep the fun in it and not focus too much about the numbers, because if I stop having fun with it, I feel like the videos become uninteresting. Because if I make a video because I think there's something funny and there's something to commentate on, then it comes from, a place of relatability and like I've experienced this. But if I make a video just for the sake of trying to get views, there's no real relatability in that. And a lot of times a video does worse. So I think it's really important to keep the fun aspect of that. But your question was if it was important if you think everyone should have a social media for business reasons. And I think like my dad, he does construction, and we're talking about it, and he wants to get on Instagram just because of how, I think it's just because of how much reach you can get is really, it's an important tool. And there's definitely those people who tackle social media from a making money standpoint, and you can be really successful that way. But I think when it comes to making videos, which my videos I would label as trying relatable comedy videos, it's really tough to have a pure business money making mindset while making those kinds of videos, because they kind of require that relatability.
You were saying that there was a point when you were making the videos and whether they would do well or not would dictate your mood, and that kind of was a bit toxic. And I also imagine that whenever you get some reach and some videos going viral, getting millions of views, some people might relate to what you're saying, but some people might also maybe disagree and kind of criticize. I would say you're quite young, at least younger than me. And that puts a big spotlight on you. Do you feel like it's kind of a lot of pressure? Do you feel like maybe some people will really start struggling with kind of suddenly having the expectations and the need to deal with so much criticism at times?
Yeah, it can, as far as getting, because of my unique kind of content where I'm in Japan and make videos, but I also go back to America, I don't get a lot of people who actually recognize me. There has been a few times, and I remember how many because of how much it startled me the first time, but there's been 5 people who have recognized me while I live here. And that's always, it's always so interesting. And I haven't had any sort of toxic interaction in person. I have, I've gotten, weird DMs or comments or stuff, but I just, I try my best. As someone who's grown up with social media, I've become, it's really easy to get desensitized to hate comments, which I think is a good thing. Then again, it really depends on the person, but just when growing up, I watch a lot of YouTube or influencers, and they always, the whole catchphrase is, like forget the haters, or, like don't think about the haters and stuff. And that mindset has just kind of been so ingrained into me. I don't get affected as much by hate comments.
You're working on this bilingual comedy.
Oh yeah.
Which is also, comedy can be tricky because humor is different in different countries.
Yeah.
Is it something you then consciously approach, or is it more you find it funny and therefore you make it and you put it out there and you see what people say?
It's kind of a bit of both, because there's some American humor that I could use that Japanese people would have no idea what's going on. And then as far as the Japan side goes, I don't really know like Japanese humor. I mean, to a degree I do. I've watched some like comedy videos with my girlfriend and stuff. So I don't really have like this kind of like stand-up comedian mindset where I kind of know what's funny, what's not. I try to start everything with what I think is funny, and then I'll show my girlfriend and be like, is this like what do you think about this? And if I truly think it's funny, I'll post it anyway. And there's been some videos that just do not do well at all because there was probably too niche. It was probably just I was the only one who thought it was funny. But yeah, I do notice that the broader I can make it, because the tricky thing about social media is that, like, if you want to make, about what I do on social media is if you want to make a relatable video, I'm sorry, I totally forgot where I was going with that. Let me try to bring it. Yeah, I think because when it comes to comedy, oh man, I'm totally sorry.
The train of thought is gone.
The train of thought just left.
Somewhere.
What was the question again?
I also lost it.
Okay, no worries.
I kind of have a follow up for you.
Yeah,
which I'm curious about is, before I moved to Japan, there were these kind of let's say OG Japan content creators, and I was looking at their content and like, oh, they are showing Japan this way and that way. That was maybe about 10 years ago or something like that. For you moved to Japan for the first time for your exchange, I think 2-3 years ago. At the time, did you look at a lot of Japan content, and do you now look at these new content creators and kind of what they're discussing and take this into consideration when you make videos?
That's a great question. I when I was younger, I watched a lot of like Abroad in Japan, which I love his videos. They're great. And the one thing that I have trouble with, actually, okay, I think I remember where I was going with that previous point.
So we can connect both.
Yeah. The one thing I struggle with, which is definitely something I got to fix if I'm going to continue being a content creator, is I really don't like filming outside. You'll notice in my videos are all green screen because I film them all in my house. I have a couple where I'm outside, but they take so long to film because if anyone's walking by, I just kind of like stop and wait for them to pass. especially in Japan, I don't want to. I really don't want to be in an invasion of any sort. I probably think this too much, but I just think being a foreigner in a different country, I really, I've seen videos online of people acting really rude, playing loud music on the train or being really disruptive. And I try my best to be as much opposite of that as I can. And that kind of also, it is also kind of just like a personal shy thing, is I don't like posting videos outside, or my girlfriend will be like, hey, just record yourself talking, while you're walking down the street. And I have just kind of this embarrassment or negative view about doing that. So, and with that point you said before about looking at other content creators, I mean, a lot of the biggest content creators in Japan right now do a lot of interviews and do a lot of, streaming where they go out and just kind of film their life talking to people. That would be really tough for me, because I've just gone so used to my style of video that doesn't require me to go out and have interactions with people. I do love having interactions with people. When I go out to Starbucks or any sort of restaurant, I do like to talk to the clerk, and I like to, I'm not really embarrassed about asking for directions or talking to people. But when it comes to
not on camera,
you're not on camera, I don't know. I don't really know why, but I just get this kind of negative feeling about, asking for someone about something, but being is it, can it record it? I don't know. I feel weird about that. But then again, I very well might do that in the future, because that's kind of what my path kind of goes to, is doing more interview-based content.
You mentioned wanting to be the opposite of these nuisance streamers or nuisance content creators.
Yeah.
Even some that are not nuisance content creators and that have been here for a while. Over time, some videos have maybe gotten backlash for some reasons, because cultural faux pas, and they kind of maybe didn't respect local customs and such. Is this something that you kind of now research also with regards to your comedy, where you're like, is it, let's say, culturally appropriate to make a joke about this, or is it something that at this point you kind of are still exploring?
That's a great question. I am still exploring that. I do try, and if I think of a video, I definitely think about how Japanese people will perceive it, because when I'm in Japan, I mean, I look at my analytics, and sometimes upwards of 90% of the viewers of that video are Japanese. When I'm in Japan, I think the way that the algorithm works is it shows it to the people around you first. So a lot of the times when I'm here, the videos that are more Japanese based do a lot better. And then when I'm in America, vice versa, the American videos do better. But I definitely, no matter what I post, I always try to think about it. Actually, if it's meant for Americans, I don't really think about it, because it's meant, it's meant for them. And I kind of imagine that if a Japanese person is watching it, they'll recognize that it's American humor. But if the video is, I'm speaking Japanese in the video and it's meant for Japanese people, I definitely try to take into account if this could be considered, rude or cultural offensive in any way. I'll ask my girlfriend, I'm like, is this okay? So yeah, I definitely do think about that before posting a video, being a foreigner in a different country.
At what point did you kind of start realizing or thinking that, maybe this could be something more viable, something that kind of nearly full time for you to work on and to more proactively create those skits that you're working?
It started because I actually, one of my old friends from when I was way younger, he's actually, we signed a contract, and he actually became my manager, which you guys have been talking to. And so he is very, I don't like to do negotiations. I'm very bad at, negotiating on my behalf. Because before I had a manager, every single brand deal that I would get approached to do, I'd do it myself, and I'd always have a hard time with the negotiation aspect. But my friend, he went to business, he went to college for business. He's very proactive in that kind of mindset, and he's really good at reaching out to companies and talking on my behalf. And ever since him, he has really he's gotten me so much work, I guess. I mean, a lot of brand deals and things that I wouldn't be possible if he didn't reach out to them. And ever since that, ever since signing with him and having like a manager of sorts, it's really started to be more of a viable option of, making of a career.
So first the company is reaching out, and then actually partnering with someone you can rely on to kind of professionalize this a little bit.
Right.
Which maybe puts a little pressure on you now, because you have to actually produce the content, whether it affects your mood or not. I think that whether it's a brands or your
I've worked with brands that are really, like either like it's a really big deal and they are, there's a lot of money on the line. I get so pressured to make a good video because my manager's like, no, just make a normal video, like that's what they wanted in the first place. And I'm just like, dude, like, I'll spend like weeks just trying to come up with a good idea for the video because there's a lot more pressure when it's like that. So I haven't taken. There was when I first had my manager, I was taking a lot of brand deals, and I was just because at first I was like, oh my god, like I can get paid for this. This is crazy. But I kind of had a realization where it's like I don't want this to just become, because it's going back to where it's just becoming business, and like I don't want this to just become business again. If I can still have fun doing it and get paid, that's great. But I don't want this to just become like a job, because then again, also if it becomes a job, then I lose the people who watch me for, my relatable videos. And I don't want someone to watch my videos and be like, oh, it's just another ad. Okay. Whatever. So I'm trying to cut back on doing those.
Where does that leave you today? Your next big step is going to be moving here later this year permanently and go to language school. So back to studies while producing content. What are your projects? What are you hoping to achieve here in Japan?
I still, even though that I have this, I have a kind of a path forward with social media, at least right now. I can, if I choose to pursue it, but I don't want to put all my, I guess, cards into social media. So I hopefully want to go to language school and study. And then if things go well there, eventually go to college in Japan. I think that would be a really great experience for me, because I still want to go to college. I want to get a degree. And I think if I can make content alongside with that and still be able to keep up, because I don't know, I've never had to study and make content at the same time. So it's definitely would be a new experience for me to try and balance the two.
Maybe those brand deals can help fund your studies.
Right, exactly.
A smart use.
I do. One of my more recent brand deals would be paying for my language school. So,
very nice opportunity.
It's I'm really lucky to have this opportunity and be able to, because I mean, a lot of people that want to come to Japan, they can't. I mean, language school is not cheap, so a lot of people who might want to look to that as an option, it's a lot harder. You either got to get in through being really smart and studying, or having the funds to pay for education. So I'm really glad that I'm able to have this opportunity.
We covered a lot of topics, from how you grew up in a cult, how you had the opportunity to spend time in Okinawa and kind of found your passion for Japan, and how you kind of got into content creation and your projects. Is there anything that we haven't really gotten into that you would have liked to bring up today and share?
Trying to think about that. There was one, that was at one point I did have something I wanted to bring up, but I think I forgot what that was. I mean, right now I've just kind of focused on what I'm going to do in the future, because I do, if I can have social media work out, of course I'm going to pursue that. I think that'd be a great thing, but I also don't want to just, put all of my energy into content creation and not my studies, because I also do want to figure out that aspect of things. So I might. It's going to be tough. I need to think about. And I was wanted to go. I've kind of been in this process of looking for language schools for a little while, because I started with that with applying for college, and I didn't get accepted into that, so I immediately kind of went to language school, and there was like a lot of negotiations with the language school, and then like it turns out like I had missed the application window because the emails going back and forth took a long time. I had to like get files from my high school and do a lot of stuff. So then now I'm applying to a different language school for October. So I'm just kind of looking for, right now I'm just going to continue to, while I'm in Japan, try my best to make, Japanese videos. I do still want to make. I'm trying my hardest to not alienate a side of my viewership, because I really got like two like sides of my viewership, which is the Japanese people in Japan and then people overseas, Western audiences. And it's tough to try and balance that, because I even still have people from when I was cosplaying being like, "Yo, when are you going to dress up as Cat Noir again?" And I got to be like, "Sorry, dude,
No
like
more.
no more." That was tough, because I did enjoy it for a little while. I actually ended up even connecting with some other content creators who did cosplay, and they're all super sweet, really nice. And I just got I got really caught up in it, and I'd get a lot of creepy DMs, which was partially my fault, because what I was doing on social media was those videos are there. I mean, I'm not courageous enough to delete them because I have a lot of views, so you can go find them, and you'll know what I'm talking about, because it's just me like in this like skin tight black unitard, and so I get a lot of weird comments, and a lot of the comments and DMs that I got alongside with just the kind of like the passion aspect. I didn't really have this big passion for it. That I decided to move on. So yeah, I still got those comments, people asking about like cosplay. So it's really tough to try and balance
navigate
viewers.
multiple audiences, multiple languages. But as you said, I think most important is that you keep having fun doing it. And if you are having fun doing your videos while being mindful, I think the people will also enjoy and kind of follow along.
Yeah.
And maybe one day those cosplay videos will be forgotten. Somewhere.
You never know. I think that's definitely the biggest battle is the keeping up the fun aspect of it, because I mean, I do see this as, an opportunity to become a full-time content creator that I want to pursue, but also if I lose that fun aspect of it, then
it's all gone.
Then it's all good. Yeah. So,
Genoa, thank you very much for coming today and sharing your experiences and
thank
your
you for having me.
It was really fun to kind of maybe hear out something new and something refreshing as well.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for listening and watching. This was Unpacking Japan, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Kind of cool everything you've done in this short period of time.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Thank you for sticking with us all the way till the end. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the podcast. It helps us improve the show and bring you more in-depth conversations from Japan. Take care and see you next time.